everybody, to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson of PunchDrunkCritics.com. And as you can see from the background behind me, we are talking Plane with Gerard, Butler, and Mike Colter. And M3GAN, which I have been excited to talk to my buddy Chris Bumbury about. And you see him right above me there from Jobo.com. Chris Bumbury, what's up, man?
Hey, everybody. How are you?
What's up, man? Hey,
I'll
all
be
right,
seeing you
so
in person next week, finally.
I know. I can't wait. Sundance. Let me take that back. I can't wait. I'm like at this point, at this stage of Sundance, I'm in the apprehension stage of it. Where I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm in the, is it going to be that
Yeah,
great? Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
And then
We'll
once I
see.
get there, I'll be great. Like once
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
there, I'm like,
Once
I'm
I
gonna
get
enjoy
into the
myself.
fresh market and I have the first
Right,
fresh market sandwich, that
right.
tepid fresh
It's like
market
that.
sandwich, I'm like, oh, I'm
Right,
back.
that first fresh market sandwich, that Starbucks coffee you get from
Yeah.
there, and you're like, okay, it
And the
feels like
holiday
I'm
smell, the Holiday Village theater, I'm like, yeah, I'm
yeah,
back.
it feels like I'm here. Okay.
I'll
So
see,
let's
and I'll see Tim Gordon, Chris Bumbray, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm back. Yeah.
exactly. So we got a couple of interesting movies here to talk about. Two very different ones. Let's start by talking about the one that comes out this week, and that is Plane. And this film stars Gerard Butler and Mike Colter. And I'm interested in hearing you talk about this exactly.
Yeah, I've got a
We
bone to
have
pick with you
we
about
have
this.
different we
Just
have
read your
different
review
opinions
just
about this
now.
movie.
I just read your review just now. I thought you were gonna love it. I was like, man, we're
I
gonna just
thought
talk about
so
how awesome
too.
this movie is.
But I
And
thought
it's
so
like,
too. It starred Gerard Butler as a commercial airline pilot. His plane gets struck by lightning. People die. They crash land in like the worst possible spot in the Philippines, overrun by armed goons. Man, I tweeted and I was like, I want this movie to just be as dumb as possible. Just be dumb. It's not dumb. It's serious. And I was like, what is going on here? You got Mike Colter as a
the
as an
Louis
alleged
Gaspar,
murderer.
a
Uh,
Canadian. He's
huh?
playing Canadian. They're extraditing him to Toronto. I thought that was amazing. That's how he got in the Foreign Legion, though, his character, because he's Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, alleged killer. He's basically set free when his federal escort is dies in the turbulence. Uh, and there's no tension behind it at all. It
No,
pissed
I
me
mean it's
off. I
clear
was
he's
like,
a
come
good
on, man!
guy.
That's because look, the plane crash and fighting off the rebels, whatever, is one thing. That's standard stuff. I thought having Coulter's character be a killer who you may or may not be able to trust was this really cool idea that I thought they were going to have some fun with and play around with, and they don't. And it made me so angry while I was watching the movie that I just could not get into it. I was like,
Well,
what are they
because
doing
he's a straight up good guy, and like
I
they
don't
kind of
want
acknowledge
that
that.
though.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I thought was going to happen, though, because when they say he's like Foreign Legion and stuff like that, and he's got
Yeah.
like the knife, like I knew he was 100% going to be a good guy, and I kind of like that. It's similar to that script that you and I have been talking about, like where the kids are in jail, that scared straight thing. Like I was thinking, like he's kind of that character in some ways. Like I'd see like Mike
Right.
Colter
But
starring this
that's
movie.
what I thought though. Like I
Yeah.
thought that was what they were going to do. I thought they were going to at least play around with it. I'm not upset that he's like a decent guy. That's fine. But leave us in suspense. Like let us wonder like can you turn your back on this guy? What's happening here? Can you trust him? That's like the whole hook of the movie for me. And I think it's really the whole hook of the film, period. And they don't actually do anything with it. And I just found myself being really mad watching it because I was like, this seems like a waste.
I mean, I think for me though, it was more. I was expecting more of a two-hander action movie, and I think that's kind of what it was. I mean, just kind of look at the poster. That's kind of how they were selling it. I knew that Coulter was 100% going to be a good guy from the beginning because they wouldn't have cast him otherwise. They would have cast somebody shiftier, but they cast this guy who's
Oh, come
very
on.
famous for playing
You ever
heroic
seen
characters.
Fatal? He makes a pretty good douchebag.
Sure, but I mean, they got his muscles out and stuff like that.
That's
Like I thought he was being cast as. I also thought it was
he's a
cool
good
that.
douche. He's a good douchebag because he's so goddamn good looking. And so everything that you're like, well, you don't have to be a dick. Like yeah, that's why he's so good at being like a really like a scummy kind of guy.
I don't know. I like him as a hero though, and I liked the movie
You
because I
do?
mean, for me, part of it was I liked the character. I liked Butler. I like it when he does kind of the grounded action star thing.
So
You know,
bland.
I like it. And I liked the fight that he had, where it's a guy who he can handle himself, but he's fighting to survive. And the thing that I like the most about Gerard Butler as
That's
an
a decent
action
fight.
star,
That was a
I
decent.
like that he'll take his licks, and I find that no other action star, you never see Jason Statham or The Rock or Vin Diesel get the
Oh
shit
no,
kicked out.
no, no. Those
You
guys are
know,
too protective of their identities.
which is cool about Butler though. Butler will let himself get messed up,
Yeah,
and also Butler is not in the best shape of his career in this movie. Not a knock against him at all because he's a middle-aged guy, but I think
looks
he's
like a
very.
normal guy. Looks like a
I
normal
think
guy.
that's what's good about it, and he's secure next to Mike Colter because Mike Colter's got the fucking guns out the whole movie, and then Butler's next to him, and it's like any I feel like no other action star would be so secure enough. They would make him wear a sweater in the jungle.
I like Gerard Butler. I'm actually a fan of his. I thought
Yeah,
I like the Has Fallen movies, especially that
yeah,
third one, which I think is great, like legitimately
yeah.
great. And
Well,
I
that's
thought
that's Rick Roman Waugh though. It's
because
that's
I
an
know Rick
awesome
Roman
director.
is such a superior filmmaker to the
Yeah,
other guys. But and I liked what was it, Greenland from a
me
couple years
too.
ago, which was really fun. I like
And
Gerard
they've got
Butler.
another one coming out soon too, Kandahar.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like Gerard Butler. I just felt like this was sort of a understated role for him. Like he's a really big personality, especially if you
yeah.
ever met him and talked to him. He's a really big personality, you know. And it's like this movie felt like it was kind of keeping him a little bit like buttoned up for me, and I was like, I
Well,
expected more.
it's more of a disaster movie in some ways. Like it's very similar to like those 70s disaster. It's like an almost like an airport movie.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Airport 2023.
yeah,
Like it's kind of it feels a lot like that, and
yeah.
and I think that's why they cast Coulter to be more of the traditional action star, for that kind of role. Like he probably has a higher body count than Butler does in the movie. But
Yeah.
I liked Butler's character. I liked the fact that I did like the fact that he's just unreservedly heroic, right? Like they didn't make him an alcoholic. They didn't make him all messed up. Like they make him, he's a guy, he's a pilot. He's doing what he has to do. He's
I
safe.
like that they showed the video clip of him beating up the belligerent passenger
Which is
because
like the thing is though,
it made
the
it
guy's
seem like he
getting
was going
rough
to
with
be
the flight attendants. It's like it's so understandable, but he
yeah,
shouldn't have been out of the cockpit. He's a pilot. Like it's
yeah,
kind of
right.
you just see him boom.
You know what else pissed me off? Daniela Pineda is in this movie, who people
Wasted,
will
yeah,
know
wasted.
from Cowboy Bebop, the short-lived series. She's great. I like her. She's got nothing to do in this
No, she has. I mean, nobody in the movie has anything to do but Coulter and Butler. I mean, it's their show all the time. I mean, like, but I really enjoyed it. I like the director Jean-François Richet. I loved Mérine. I think those movies are
movie. That
awesome.
was good. Bloodfather was really good with Mel
My Father
Gibson.
was great, and
Yeah,
I even liked his Assault and Precinct 13 remake. He is kind of
it's not
doing that
bad.
movie again
It's not
though with
bad.
this one.
That movie,
Very similar to Assault and Precinct.
that movie takes a whooping from a lot of people, but I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I really enjoyed it for like a B level action movie. I thought it was really well done. It entertained me, and it's interesting because it's very similar to this movie from the 30s called Five Came Back, which
Mm.
is about a plane that lands in the jungle, but like it's cannibals and shit like that. But they did kind of an updating of that, I thought, which was kind of interesting, and the fact that it was a bit of a disaster movie. I
Right.
think they are marketing it as like all out action, and as cheese, and it's not really cheesy.
So, I wish it was.
There's another version of the movie that probably could have been made that would have been cheesier, but I don't know. For me, this really I
I
found
wanted
it
that version. I
it
wanted
ent-
that version.
it entertained me through and
I
through, and I
wanted.
like Mike Coulter as an action star. Like it's like,
I
and
like
I
Mike
liked his
Colter.
character.
I like Mike Colter. Just period. I think he's a really good actor. Who is? I think he's kind of being underserved by a lot of the roles he's taken.
Oh yeah, I mean he's it's I think it's
Be
tough
more.
because he's got that show too, and I think
Be
that kind
more.
of keeps him under wraps.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't have as much time to go and do other things. I think the show is relatively successful, but it's
it
just
is.
I feel like he could do other things.
Well,
Like
people watch him. People pay to see him. Like he's got two successful TV shows. He's been
mhm.
in movies that have been successsul. He's a guy that people want to pay for. I think he could be more. And
Yeah, oh sure, I
I
could
think
see him doing like
well, when he comes
I
over to
mean
Marvel, when he comes over to Marvel to bring back Luke Cage, that'll be the thing.
I think they could for sure bring back Luke Cage.
He'll be one of the ones they bring back. The only one they won't bring back is Finn Jones.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it depends what Daredevil does. I don't think we're gonna get more Iron Fist though.
I always tell that story about how that year at Comic Con where they showed that the first episode of the Defenders
Oh, I wasn't
and
there.
they introduced the cast and they said everybody's name but his.
Yeah, this guy.
And it was so embarrassing because everybody got all these cheers and they didn't want to say his name because they knew if they did it, he probably would have got booed. So
Yeah.
he just didn't say it at all. He just kind of came walking out at the end. I was like,
People did not care for that series or that role. It's weird. It's funny. I could see everybody come back but him.
Yeah.
I feel like the Punisher also may not come back in like Disney Plus. I feel like that character is hard to work in a Disney Plus world. But
if you can, I don't know, if you can make Moon Knight work, you can make Punisher work.
Sure.
Moon Knight is just as violent as Punisher, so you can do it. It's just how you do it. And some of the Marvel shows have been surprisingly violent. So
I'd like to see Colter though do like some more like, I kind of hope he gets more like kind of middle of the road action movies like Plane. Like I hope Plane is a success because I'd like to see him do kind of more movies
he needs
like
to
that.
be like My Spy 2. Like Dave Bautista's got like grown past it now, so it's like
give him like the B-level stuff. He could do that. Yeah.
He hasn't had his kids movie yet. So
I mean, I could see like somebody like Netflix should pick him up and do like a just like a kick-ass action movie, like with him, like the Vengeful Cop of Vengeance.
Right.
Or like you could remake I Come in Peace with him in like the Lundgren role.
Yeah, definitely want to see more from Mike Colter. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the second movie came out last week and did extremely well. This is
M3GAN.
This is, yeah, I know, right? M3GAN.
What are they going to do when they get to the third movie, though?
That is a damn good question.
Because they're going to, because it's huge.
Yes, they're already talking about there's going to be a sequel to M3GAN. So what are they going to do there? I don't know. But basically, it revolves around a high-tech doll that, because everything in these situations turns evil, decides. Although I found myself throughout the movie rooting for her, so I don't necessarily want to call her evil because she's following her programming. Her programming, she's got this girl who's been traumatized by the death of her parents. She's living with her aunt, who played by Allison Williams, who is clearly like this millennial brat, probably only selfish. They never planned on ever being a parent, so she can't parent. She's a terrible parent. And Megan's like, you've had it hard. I'm here to protect you. And that's all she's trying to do throughout the movie is protect this girl. And if a few people got to die along the way, I supported her programming. I don't know what
my theory though is that the sequel, they're going to bring Megan back and Megan's going to be the good guy. I'm sure of it. I'm sure that that's where it's going, the series. Like
they did that with Chucky in a way. Like Chucky kind of started killing people who were like worse and worse.
Well, and I feel like Megan, they might like do something where, the army gets a hold of her, the CIA gets a hold of her or something. Like Laura and I were talking about that, how at the end, Allison Williams, she'd be like black hood on her head and like would be taken by like the CIA or something to like a black site or something to develop more Megan dolls.
It's an easy premise, all the data on the creation of Megan gets out there and somebody creates a line of Megan dolls.
A worse, like more evil Megan. And then they bring back like Megan, the doll. Like it's, I liked it, but the problem was it should have been gorier. Like it's kind of a drag. It's kind of a drag. They cut it to a PG-13 and it begged for an R rating because there are all these like setups for these big gore moments that never happened that were probably filmed, and it's like, why not? If you're doing that,
the co-writer Akilah Cooper said there's an unrated version that they're going to release,
and she's good. I mean, she's written two of the most fun kind of horror movies in the last couple of years. That and again, I love Malignant. I thought Malignant was great. I don't like Malignant. I loved it. But I'd like to see that version of the movie, and I think it would have been just as successful, maybe even more so. I don't think the PG-13 at this point really makes a difference at the box office.
I think a re-release of Megan unrated in theaters would be a hit.
Me too. I think they should. I think they should do that now. I think they should put the unrated version out there and say, "Hey, there's the extra gorier version," and it would like be number one again.
I totally agree. I think that would be smart to do that because even as a PG-13, this movie was a lot of fun. Like me and my buddy were laughing all through while watching this. I consider myself a huge fan of killer doll movies. Like I'm not a huge horror guy in general, but I love killer doll movies.
Did you ever see Magic with Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah. So I love them, and this one was great. Of course, Megan has been like this big viral hit because of her TikTok dances and things like that, which I think are pretty funny. But it takes that and incorporates it into a really enjoyable story where Megan is just like this just really fun character. Like
Well,
I
and the music
was
choices are
totally into
really
it.
cool too. Like the like putting on like having her sing Sia, and then she sings she plays on the piano at one point Toy Soldiers
Yeah, that was great.
by
That was
Martika.
great.
Like
And
that
she
was
has
it was
this
funny.
perfect
Laura was like, "Is that Toy Soldiers?"
yeah, yeah. And she has this perfect foil in Allison Williams, who I think Allison Williams in a lot of ways is someone that we like consider to be this perfect princess. She plays that kind of character a lot because she kind of looks like it.
Yeah,
But her characters are always like delusional or at least ignorant as hell.
she's kind of
And
a
she's
good
like that in this film.
foil. I wouldn't call her a scream queen because she's never really the lead. She's
No,
always kind of, but she's like the foil for like the lead in almost
she's
in
like
some ways.
she's like someone who comes across as perfect, but ends up being either like in Get Out, The Lure,
Mhm.
or in that Netflix movie where she's like a
Oh, the
monster.
perfection. Yeah. Or in this one where she
Never
has
what
like
she's
no
seen.
idea what she's done, like and the kid is the lead
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think they're gonna do a whole bunch of these movies. I feel like though she may not be back. Like it might just be. I think they might keep the doll and they might just like totally mix
Move to a
like
different
switch.
family, like follow a different family.
Yeah, or just like totally. They may even switch up the genre or something like that.
Yeah.
Like who knows what they'll come up with next.
I'm
And
just glad they decided to have fun with this and not be like trying to like impart too many lessons about the dangers of technology and all this kind of crap. It's like, yeah, we get
that's
it.
what James Wan was doing when we interviewed him, though. He was like, "This could happen. I'm telling you, this could happen. If kids are spending too much time on their iPads, man. And one day, this is gonna happen." And it's like,
If anything like that were to happen, it would be like one of Google's like driverless cars that like goes
yeah,
on
it won't be a doll. It
no,
won't
it
be a
won't be a
creepy
doll.
doll.
It'll be a
Yeah.
driverless car that goes on a rampage and just starts ramming everybody.
Well, I mean, they're like that sometimes. Like I'm trying to cut back on how much I drink these days, but then like I get into the car on a Friday night and the phone will be like, "Oh, SAQ," like the where we get the booze. And it'll just like guide me there. It's like, oh yeah, because it's like and they push things towards you to like
Yeah,
encourage you to do things. Like, and it's nuts.
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. So Megan, we both recommend playing. I say, stay grounded on that one. And
Thumbs up for me.
Chris is like, go ahead and book your tickets. So
Yeah, I mean, I think somewhere between what you said and somewhere between what I said lies the perfect review in the
yeah.
middle.
Apparently at the screening we had here, because they sent me a screener of it out of the clear blue sky. I was like, what? I certainly didn't ask for it. Apparently the screening had a lot of people who really enjoyed it. So
It's getting really good reviews. I think they wanted people to see it to get the support. The problem is it's coming out way too close to Megan. It's not going to be a hit.
no, it doesn't feel like it's getting much like
It's
buzz
because
buzz.
Megan's if it had come out a couple weeks later, it would probably do better. But it's just the thing is Megan is gonna. I
I mean,
think
it's going
Megan will.
against Megan and the continued dominance of Avatar, which doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Oh, I know, and it's always everybody always bets
It's
against
like
James
dropping
Cameron.
0% every week.
And everybody always bets against James Cameron, and it's like, when are people gonna learn?
I know. I know. Have you
Did you see they sent us a screener of Avatar: The Way of Water?
did you get one?
It's in Disney debut now for the Critics Guilds.
I
But it's
didn't
like
notice that.
who
I haven't
would
looked at
watch a
it.
screener of it though? Like I think that's a piracy proof movie because if you're watching it at home, you're not watching it.
Yeah, you're not really. Not really.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Globes last night at all?
No. I have no interest. I had somebody watching it for the site. I have no interest. The only thing I looked at was the Shelley Miscavige joke. I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And Eddie Murphy. I watched Eddie Murphy's speech. That was about it.
Yeah, which that wasn't nearly as good a speech as the one he gave at the celebration of Black Cinema 3 years ago.
I honestly, I find it, and I say this as somebody who votes for awards, in our CCA. I find there's this award season. I don't know what it is. I have there's no real kind of hook for me this year. I find I'm bored of everything. Like it's
Yeah.
just kind of.
Yeah, I only take a little bit of interest in the Critics' Choice because we're a part of it.
Yeah,
I don't really care about the Golden Globes, which ironically it used to be my favorite award show that a
me
lot
too,
of
because they
people
were all
care.
drunk.
Right, exactly, and I just kind of stopped. And I don't really care about the Oscars. I mean, I don't know. I, I have all these friends who are like Oscar experts talking around me about it, but I'm just kind of like,
Well, we do have the Golden Schmoes coming up on Joe Blow eventually, and
oh boy.
that's the what everybody should be looking at.
Yes, of course. When does that happen?
That's going to be in February, but I can tell you already, Top Gun Maverick is going to sweep. That's the
Are
kind
you
of
going to
movie
are you
that
going to make sure that it sweeps?
no, but that's the kind of movie that typically I'm going to put that up. Top Gun
Joe
Maverick is
Blow.
going to sweep. Probably some love for everything everywhere all at once. Like those are like the movies that connected with the Joe Blow audience. Like I feel like
Joe Blow
those are
has Joe Blow has a very specific kind of audience. I love the Joe Blow audience, which is one of the reasons
yeah,
why
it's
I like
but they
working
like,
with this.
action and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
and but then, I think a lot of them loved everything everywhere all at once, but that has
Who
action in it.
who is Joe Blow sending to the '80s for Brady junket?
What's that? Oh, 80 for Brett. We didn't get it, which is way too old. Yeah,
I'm
I think they're
I'm
only inviting
completely
80
joking.
journalists
I
that are 60 plus.
I am completely joking because I know I was
Yeah.
like, if you guys, I was like, if you guys have even posted a trailer, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. I feel like we'll probably review it, but it's like I feel like it's sports and kind of like, AARP type stuff. Like it's kind of, like I don't know that would do that that's
That
our
does not
thing.
that does not seem like the Joe Blow sort of movie.
But then, like I mean, I did a review of All Quiet on the Western Front. That was trending for weeks. So
Yeah,
sometimes you get
that's a
surprised.
manly war movie, dude.
Yeah.
That
Plane will
should be.
be a hit with our audience, I would say. Plane would do well with our audience, probably.
Yeah, Plane seems like it should be good
Yeah.
for the Joe Blow audience. I totally agree with that. I
The
wish it
one that's going to be big for us this year will be Rebel Moon. We're going to get so much traction out of that.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I hope you guys are doing a junket for that.
I hope so too. Yeah, I hope so.
That'd be awesome. All right, Chris Bumbright, this has been fun as always. We got to knock out 2 movies this week, Plane and M3GAN. Chris says, watch out for the Golden Schmoes that are coming up. So that'll be cool. Look out for that. I am Travis Hobson. This has been Cinema Royale. You can find me every single day at punchdrunkcritics.com. Thank you very much. I will see you all next time. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.